Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Tonight's breaking story comes straight from Eastern Europe, where a tiny nation is standing up to one of the world's most powerful militaries. You won't believe what Lithuania is doing right now at the Russian border, and why this move could change the security balance not only in Europe, but also for the United States. Lithuania, a country of just under 3 million people, has taken unprecedented steps along its border with Russia and Belarus, and this isn't just about local politics. Because Lithuania is a NATO member, its decisions could drag the entire alliance, and yes, the U.S. itself, into direct confrontation with Moscow. So what exactly is happening, and why should Americans pay attention? Let's break it down. For context, ever since Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, NATO's eastern flank has been on high alert. Countries like Poland, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania have been warning that if Ukraine falls, they could be next in line, and unlike other parts of Europe, these nations have direct experience with Russian domination. Lithuania was occupied by the Soviet Union for decades. That memory runs deep. Geography makes Lithuania's position even more dangerous. It borders both Belarus, essentially a Russian client state, and Russia's Kaliningrad exclave. Kaliningrad is no ordinary territory. It's a fortress packed with Russian troops, missile systems, and even nuclear-capable weapons. From there, Moscow can threaten Poland, Germany, and the entire Baltic Sea. Even more critical is the so-called Suwalki Gap, a narrow strip of land connecting Lithuania to Poland. Military experts call it NATO's Achilles heel. If Russia ever seized that gap, it could cut off Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia from the rest of NATO. In other words, one decisive move could isolate 3 member states completely. Now here's where the breaking news comes in. Lithuania has launched a sweeping military buildup along its borders. It is deploying thousands of troops to forward positions, constructing bunkers and fortifications, and expanding border restrictions to choke off sanctioned goods moving to Kaliningrad. Even more striking, Lithuania has invited NATO, especially the United States, to establish a permanent base on its soil. That would mean American troops and equipment stationed just miles from Russian territory. And Lithuania has begun exercises that simulate direct conflict with Russia, not just generic drills, explicit war games aimed at preparing for Russian aggression. For a country of Lithuania's size, these moves are nothing short of remarkable. They are effectively saying, we are ready if you come, so why take this risk? Why provoke a nuclear superpower? The answer is simple: history and survival. Lithuania remembers what it was like under Soviet rule. Independence was stolen once, they're determined never to lose it again, and they know Russia's playbook. Vladimir Putin has openly stated that he views the collapse of the Soviet Union as a tragedy. Lithuania believes that if Ukraine falls, the Baltics could be next. They're not waiting around for NATO to save them later. They're making preparations now. Predictably, Russia is furious. The Kremlin accuses Lithuania of escalating tensions and dragging NATO into confrontation. In Kaliningrad, Russian forces are running their own drills, including simulated nuclear strikes. Russian state media has even floated the idea of punishing Lithuania with cyber attacks, economic pressure, or worse. But here's the twist: Lithuania isn't backing down. In fact, the threats only make them more determined. Lithuanian leaders are openly saying, we will not be the next Ukraine. So what does NATO think? And more importantly, what about the United States? For NATO, Lithuania's actions actually align with a broader strategy. The alliance has already deployed multinational battle groups in Poland and the Baltics. U.S. forces have expanded their presence in Poland with tanks, HIMARS rocket systems, and Patriot missiles. Now the debate is whether Washington should go further by basing permanent forces in Lithuania. That decision is no small matter. If America agrees, it would put U.S. troops face to face with Russian soldiers across the border. Supporters say it's essential for deterrence. Critics warn it could provoke Moscow into taking even more aggressive steps. And this is where it matters for Americans watching. Lithuania is not some faraway country with no relevance. It's a NATO ally. Under Article 5 of the NATO treaty, if Lithuania is attacked, the United States is obligated to defend it. militarily. That means if Russian tanks cross into Lithuania, American troops will be at war with Russia. This is not an abstract problem, it's a potential trigger for direct U.S. Russia conflict, the very scenario American leaders have tried to avoid since the Cold War. Beyond the military risk, there are economic stakes too. A crisis in the Baltics could destabilize markets, send energy prices soaring, and disrupt trade across Europe. Ordinary Americans could feel the shockwaves at the gas pump and in the grocery store. Experts are divided on what happens next. Some argue that Lithuania's boldness is exactly what's needed to stop Moscow. They say Putin only understands strength, and a fortified Lithuania makes an attack far less likely. Others caution that a cornered Russia could lash out with cyber attacks, disinformation campaigns, or even military force. Three scenarios are being discussed most often. Scenario 1, deterrence works. Lithuania's buildup convinces Russia to think twice, and NATO's eastern flank remains secure. Scenario 2, a hybrid escalation. Instead of tanks and troops, Russia strikes back with cyber warfare, propaganda, or energy cutoffs, creating instability without triggering full NATO retaliation. Scenario 3, direct conflict. The nightmare outcome, Russia pushes into the Suwalki Gap or Lithuanian territory. NATO invokes Article 5, and suddenly the United States is at war with Russia. On the ground, Lithuanians are not waiting for diplomats to decide. Citizens are preparing through civil defense drills. Schools are teaching students how to respond in emergencies. Volunteers are training in paramilitary groups. The mindset is clear: if the worst happens, the nation will not go quietly. For Lithuanians, this isn't just politics, it's about survival and freedom. For Americans, it's about whether the world's most powerful alliance can hold together under pressure. So where does that leave us tonight? Lithuania's decision to fortify its border and invite a larger NATO presence is a gamble. It could succeed in deterring Russia, or it could escalate tensions further. Either way, it's a defining moment in the standoff between democracy and authoritarianism. The big question for Washington is simple. Will the United States back Lithuania with permanent forces, or will it hesitate and risk leaving NATO's eastern flank vulnerable? One thing is certain, this is not just Lithuania's fight. It's a frontline test of NATO, of American resolve, and of whether the post-World War Roman II security order can withstand the challenge of Russian aggression. And as we continue to watch this story unfold, remember, what happens on that border could shape not just the future of Europe, but the future of global security. Stay tuned for more updates, because this confrontation is only beginning.